the American Revolution, but few are aware of the battle at sea that made this siege successful. The sea action was unusual in that no American fought in the battle, only French and British were involved. With a fleet of 28 ships of the line, the French blockaded the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay and the York River, cutting off British naval access to Yorktown. Admiral Thomas Graves, commanding a British battle fleet of 19 ships of the line from New York, approached the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay on September 5th. When the British ships were sighted, the French admiral, Francois-Joseph de Grasse, ordered his fleet to attack. The ships sailed on a nearly parallel course. Cannon roared. By sunset, sails, masts, and rigging cluttered the decks of the disabled British ships, while the French fleet had suffered minor damage. The fleets drifted south, but did not resume fighting. This sea battle, known as the Battle of the Capes, helped ensure Britain's defeat at Yorktown. Several days later, British Admiral Graves returned to New York to repair his ships. The French fleet returned to the Chesapeake and resumed its blockade. There, joined by a small French fleet commanded by Admiral Paul-Francois de Barras, who had recently sailed from Rhode Island with much of the French artillery. Before the arrival of the French and American armies, General Charles Lord Cornwallis's forces had dug defensive earthworks around Yorktown and at Gloucester Point. Additional advanced earthen forts, called redoubts, protected critical enemy approaches to the British defenses. Meanwhile, in Williamsburg, the Marquis de Lafayette, along with Yorktown resident and Governor of Virginia, Thomas Nelson Jr., prepared for the arrival of General George Washington and the Comte de Rochambeau. By the end of the month, over 17,000 French and American soldiers were under Washington's command. On September 28, 1781, this Allied army marched toward Yorktown. By late afternoon, some of the French regiments encountered Cornwallis's outer defenses. With the arrival of Washington's forces, Lord Cornwallis ordered his troops to retreat from the outer defense. Why? He had received this message from his commander, Sir Henry Clinton. In a few days, the fleet and 5,000 reinforcements will arrive to relieve you. Washington feared those British reinforcements would arrive any day, so his army moved quickly. With picks and shovels, French and American soldiers made the dirt fly. But even so, the first line was not finished until October 9th. Then, the cannon opened fire. The French artillery, under the command of Lieutenant Colonel Francois-Marie d'Abbeville, fired the first cannon shot against the British. A few hours later, General Washington fired the first American cannon. From that moment, the Allied cannon fire shook the earth without pause, firing 24 hours a day. Digging continued. 2 days later, the Allies began their second siege line, less than 400 yards from the British. But British redoubts 9 and 10 stood in the way of completing this line. On the night of October 14th, in 2 brief actions, the Americans captured Redoubt 10, while the French took Redoubt 9. By morning's light, the second line was completed, and the Allied cannon now fired upon the British from point-blank range. On the night of October 16th, Cornwallis attempted to move his army across the York River. A sudden storm thwarted the crossing. Lord Cornwallis saw the folly of sacrificing his troops to senseless carnage. He requested terms of surrender. Representatives of the opposing forces met at the Moore House, where the surrender terms were hammered out. On the afternoon of October 19th, the British Army emerged from its damaged garrison. Near the Allied second siege line, Generals Washington and Rochambeau waited to receive the British surrender. Once the British second in command, General Charles O'Hara, handed over Cornwallis's sword, the British Army continued south on a road lined by the American and French troops. And on this field, Surrender Field, the British forces grounded their weapons. The 19th of October was a magnificently sunny day for such a spectacle. And as a surgeon in the American Army wrote, it was a glorious day.